Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday, July 13th, 2020. First, we'll go over the economic news and then move into our technical analysis. We have a lot of central bank news this week. Today, we have Bank of England Governor Carney speaking at 11:30. This evening, the NAB business confidence out of the Australian dollar and the Chinese trade balance, as well as U.S. denominated trade balance. That's all going to be today. And then tomorrow and in the overnight session, we have the Great Britain pound gross domestic product numbers at 2 a.m. And then the first Red Star news event of the week is going to be the monetary policy statement out of the yen tomorrow. So obviously the yen could be a potential mover here today. Now, I'm going to start off today with just a bigger, higher time frame view on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq's been in the most incredible run I personally have ever seen in my life. Now, which is what's kind of funny, and honestly, when I look at this chart, it's almost hard to believe. But I started trading around 2008, and the Nasdaq, it's over the last what is now 12 years has completely changed. Now, we had a low of 1,000. We're literally 10x that low in the Nasdaq. We are 10 times what the low was basically in 2000, and the ranges were much smaller. As the market continues to accelerate towards new highs and grow in its total market capitalization, the ranges have become much more significant, and the Nasdaq has truly become a monster index contract. Now, on this higher time frame picture, we had what was, and hindsight's 2020, but the 2016 low to high is basically what's stuck in the Nasdaq. And I haven't covered this too much, but this is something that's important to know. Where our lows are lines up with the halfway back, basically from Trump's election in 2016. I believe that was his inauguration when we made that new low. This was the election scare, and then we made the new low, and our pullback was that halfway back. Now that we understand that's where the accumulation went on, we're just using that as a potential profit target. And that's why I titled today's video, Where Will the Nasdaq Stop? That upside profit target very well could be coming into play this week. That upside profit target is, let me get it perfect, it is 11,155. Okay, that's not too far from here. It's like around 200 points. That very well could be coming into play this week. So I really wanted to point that out in this video. On top of that, we also have another pretty significant profit target, and it's a negative 61 from what was the May low to the June high. It pulled halfway back mid-June on the 15th. That negative 61.8 is 11,143. So we have the two very significant, one of them is, you could even call it a monthly target, and the other one is a negative 61 of a daily. And those are really the only two targets that I have above. Now, the one I would weight more is obviously the monthly target. You can see the participation when we go back to that 68.12. The first test, which was on the 18th of March, just ripped higher, and then we opened up. This was the Sunday, or I should say Monday night, Sunday open, and that is the lows in the market. You can see there's clear participation, and there was accumulation down at these levels, and there's absolutely some people that were smart enough to get long that level that will potentially be looking for a negative 23% profit target as their exit. And hats off to those traders, because they just ran a 5,000 point Nasdaq profit target in like 5 months. Amazing. Moving down to the smaller time frame here in the Nasdaq, last week on Thursday we had an extension trade. Now we've totally blown through that target. And what I'm going to be looking for here today is the extension from what is the first high, not the high in the afternoon, but the morning high of Thursday to high as a pullback. Now, that 50% retracement, that 38 is going to be right in this zone and basically takes us back to 10,873 for the 38, and the 50 is 10,849. That is going to be the setup I will look for the Nasdaq. If we get a deeper pullback, we'll just analyze it at the time in the room. There are other support levels below, but that's the first one that I'm anticipating. Next, I'm going to move on with the S&P 500, which the S&P 500 had a long setup last week that we patiently waited for and mapped it out. It was a 3112. 3112s traded in a panic sell on Thursday. There was an absolute, for whatever reason, just a panic sell. And then there was a retest during the European Open, perfect retest during the European Open going into Friday. So we had a fill during the New York session, and then we had a double bottom at the European Open, and we began our rally Friday straight up. The profit target from the 3112 is all the way up at 3218s. There's absolutely no bears or no bearish setups here at all. We'll just continue to realize that there's just nothing to get sold into. Now, coming into, and I'm going to just remove the extended session here. Coming into Friday morning in the trade room, we were looking at the full 50% retracement from what was Thursday's low to high as a setup. It was a 31.2975 or 31.30 if you want to round up. We blew through that profit target at its negative 23% profit target, and then we have gone really all the way through at this point in time the negative 61. Now, in the overnight session, we actually already traded this extension. And this extension is really clean. It's a 31.54 half to high. We opened, we gapped up, we ran, we came right back to that 38.2, and this is currently, we're just kind of running in highs, coming back into support. This is our bullish setup. Okay, this is our extension here, and this extension targets 32.09 half, and upon the completion of that profit target, we would have a same anchor new high. Moving on to the Dow, it's very similar. The Dow, let me just show you guys this daily here. The Dow daily target, there is an upside target of 29,099. Now the Dow isn't moving near the speed or the velocity of the Nasdaq by any means, but it's still an index and it's still bullish. The interesting thing to me about the Dow has been the last market to break out, and that possibly could change this week. There is this 50% retracement short, and it's been really sloppy. The halfway back short is right around like 26,000, just above 26,000, and you can see we've consistently closed below that level. There's a very, very well a possibility that we finally start breaking out of what has just been that short and run to the top of the range. Maybe you'll start to see rotation as the Nasdaq hits its profit target into the Dow. And what I would expect if we get that to happen is us to move up into the 26,931. So you can just see how on this daily chart we are peaking out and breaking through here. So a breakout retest is definitely on the table here for the Dow this week. And on the smaller time frame, the setup I'm watching, I'm going to get rid of the extended session here. Similar setup. So we had a 50% retracement. Let me go to a 15-minute chart. A 50% retracement. It was a little sloppy, but it was Thursday's low, too high, okay, to that morning high. We came down. We stuck the 61 right at 10 o'clock on Friday, and then we ran to and through our profit targets. That high now from 25,720 to high is our current long setup. And we haven't yet quite pulled back into it, but this is definitely the setup to watch here and be patient for the Dow. Actually, we did come into that 38 there to the new high at 4:30 a.m. So this is going to be our long setup for the YM down at those levels. And we're already above it. All right, moving on to oil, which Friday's video was titled "Oil is Moving," and moving it did. I think there was some OPEC news over the weekend, but we went straight up Friday. And we have now we broke out of the opposing 50% retracement short. Totally broke out of it. And in the overnight session, we pulled right into a perfect technical 50% retracement long. I'm just going to continue to respect the bottom of this range as support. That trade is basically over because we've traded the 39.66 support and rallied 50 ticks plus. But what we can look for this week, and one thing I always like to pay attention to is if you have a big move one day, what is the subsequent, what are the follow-up moves of that market? And that's what I'm going to be watching here for CL this week. Do we complete the 41.30 target off the halfway back from the lows of Friday to high? Definitely a market to pay attention to. It was incredibly technical on Friday. As soon as we start busting back through the top of this previous channel, all of these shorts are going to have their heads blown off, and we're going to rotate all the way up into 40.70. Once we get through that top of the channel, I have no resistance till 40.70. None. Moving on to the USD JPY. The USD JPY kind of checked back into this daily support level. It's been very tough to get below the 106.80 for some time. Now there are multiple daily short setups here in this USD JPY. There's a higher time frame halfway back all the way at the 109.30. There's a higher time frame halfway back at the 107.90, and then the 50% retracement short from the high of July to low is going to be a 107.39 here, 107.39. Now, coming out of the lows, because there is support down here, Sunday night we had stuck. There was a reversal Friday morning out of the 10:30 time frame. We stuck a 50% retracement long. We completed profit targets. We moved into an extension. That extension actually is a new extension here. So we are extension to extension. So right now, if you're just looking at the price action here today, the USD JPY is very bullish, and there's no resistance to the 107.39 that I have. Maybe that's another level, but there is an extension series with no resistance to 107.39 here for the USD JPY. For the Aussie dollar has this untested 50% retracement long. I would like to see from at least Tuesday's low to high, and you can even argue that there'll be a support level from the low of the range, which goes back to June 15th to high. But we have been front run on that level. Okay, it was a 69.14. We traded 69.21. So this is a 7-tick front run. That's a pretty aggressive front run. So everything up at this 69.99 to 70 level, I just see as resistance. You can see rejection candle, rejection candle, rejection candle over and over again. We've been unable to get through those levels, and there's really just a range going on between them. Ideally, later this week, I'd like to see the 69.14s. We'll see if that happens, but I do have this as resistance. We just have to begin a series out of it. In order to confirm that we're going to drop lower, we need to break the halfway back from Friday. And we just have not yet done that. But, a little bit of a resistance up here and not much to do until we get down to the lows, but I am expecting that to happen. The euro rallied out of its support on Friday. We had a 112.56 support level. Now that was from the low of the range, the 619 low to high. Now it was front run on its first test, which happened Tuesday of last week. We made a new high. We retested, and out of the retest on Friday, we began a very technical series. We had this 50% retracement. That 50% retracement completed profit targets in the morning, and then the swing low from 8 a.m. to high traded and has completed profit targets here. The 113.36 is the profit target for the Euro USD. Now, the next measured move would just be that 112.94 to high, and that brings us back to a 113.16. The pound stuck a halfway back from what was the lows of Tuesday to high. Now we've run in, this is a third test of high. We have run into 1, 2, 3 tests. So we've had multiple times that this 126.67, 126.68 level has been rejected. I have an extension below for the 123.25 anchor that held. That's what we rallied from on Tuesday. I'd like to see us move down to the 124.97. I don't have much to do here unless we get down to those levels for the USD JPY. For the USD CAD, it's a battle between a long and a short. There's two different setups here. There is the 50% retracement short that had our first test last Wednesday. We had our second test on Friday. And then there's this higher time frame long at the 135.01. Now, before the market had, opened here, I guess I should say, before the morning had traded, there was a setup I was looking for was the full 50% retracement from the lows of Thursday to high. And we traded that last night around 12 o'clock. We rallied to the 38.2. There was a 17 pip reaction, but coming into this morning, we're down here. We've been down here for quite some time, and we're holding these micro short series. So although this was a long on the first test, now that we're below it, you don't want to start buying back into this USD CAD unless we can break out and above some shorts. So if we do continue to sell off in the USD CAD, I'm expecting a move back down to the 135.20 to the 135.01 level. So a continuation through these lows would lead us down to 135.020 or 135.01. Or if we rise back above, we can continue to respect the 135.60 as support. Moving on to gold and silver, which are really important. I should have covered them a little earlier, but we ran into this support level towards the end of the day. And let's just remember where gold and silver are. They keep peaking into new highs and falling back down. We have higher time frame targets in gold that I believe will be hit this week. There's a lot of central bank news. Gold is a mover around central bank decisions. The yen, the Australian dollar, the pound, the euro, whatever. It's a global currency basically, or at least considered a store of value from historical standpoints. So this will be a mover this week, gold and silver just broke out into another high of 2020. Now, gold, now that we've come off this support level, honestly, today, the only thing I would expect is a halfway back long for the day. I think if we could get to the 1808.8, that's about as good as you're going to get. But our upside targets this week in gold, I do believe will hit, are going to be up at 1840s. I do believe we'll trade up in the 1840s this week because of all of the central bank stuff going on. And then silver, which is really moving here. Silver also got a pullback on Thursday. What was interesting is gold got a new low on Friday. Silver did not. So the relative strength between these two products, silver is stronger. Silver is absolutely the stronger. We are going to be running into just above us. 1775 is the high of 2019. 1775 is a high of 2019 and is the profit target of the halfway back long of last week, 1732.2. So that's where I would expect us to, maybe we'll pop up there this morning, and then that's when silver is going to decide, is it going to begin in extensions. Now, if silver holds, and who knows what's going to happen, but if silver holds this Thursday's high to high after completing its profit target, if that's what ends up happening, then you can bet that this thing's really going to run this week, because we will be clearing the highs of 2019, and then we really have no resistance to the 21-22. So this thing could begin to really, really move here. Basically, since the lows, we've only really had, this is a red candle, but it's basically these are consolidations. Only sell-offs we have come are after profit targets. So already a 3% move here today in silver with the central bank stuff. For gold and silver, I definitely would be paying attention to these markets this week. So if we don't hold the extension, the next level would be the halfway back long from Thursday's low to high, but I will also be watching the halfway back long for the week when and if it does trade Sunday night's low to high, and right now that's going to be a 1939. That will wrap up my morning trade plan. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it with anybody who you might think is interested in it, especially with that NASDAQ target, because I know there's some stock guys out there that could definitely be aware of where that NASDAQ is targeting, because that is going to be coming into play this week. Everybody trade safe. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you guys in my trade room. Take care. trade plan. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anybody who you might think is interested in it, especially with that Nasdaq target, because I know there's some stock guys out there that could definitely be aware of where that Nasdaq is targeting, because that is going to be coming into play this week. Everybody trade safe. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you guys in my trade room. Take care.